wonderful people. Welcome to my YouTube channel. In June 1997, Billy Harrell, who worked in a store, won $31 million in a lottery. With this money, he returned to his hometown, bought a house for his family, helped his neighborhood, and 2 years later locked himself in his room and ended his life with a bullet. So, what happened? Wasn't that money supposed to make him happy? Ervin Yalom, in his book Existential Psychotherapy, states that one of the Schopenhauer's conclusions that helped me is happiness stems from three things. What the individual is, what they have, and what they show to others. Yalom's point was that we should always consider the first category as part of happiness and not place too much importance on the second and third categories, our possession and our reputation. Not that we shouldn't care about them, but we should recognize what they are. Essentially, the first category represents happiness, while the second and third categories represent pleasure, which is quite different from happiness, because we have no control over the second and third categories. Just as our possessions can come and go, or our reputation can fluctuate among people. In fact, Yalom says that having something inherently carries an inverse factor within it. What we possess gradually starts to possess us. That is our house, car, fame, wealth, and power, or things we expect to serve us, eventually lead us to work for them, focusing all our life's happiness on these things. The main issue is that we think happiness is the same as pleasure, and that's where our mistake lies. Modern people who seek happiness are often in search of pleasure rather than true happiness. While it's true that pleasure and happiness are related, and pleasure alone is not the sole factor for happiness and well-being. In psychology, there are two types of happiness: hedonia, which means fleeting pleasure, and eudaimonia refers to long-term pleasures that carry a deeper meaning and often involve looking deeply into the sea of life. One question: is being happy necessarily synonymous with happiness and well-being? Most likely not, as many philosophers emphasize that you attain pleasure and happiness when you understand the suffering and hardships of life. No science says that pleasure is bad or unnecessary, but you must understand why becoming wealthy cannot fill that inner void created by your parents comparing you to others during your childhood. These are completely separate issues. The reason Billy Harrell ended his life with $31 million is precisely this. A fleeting pleasure or hedonia can make us feel like the happiest person in the world when we attain it. Yet once we do, there is still a sense of emptiness inside us. It's as if we tell ourselves it's not enough and we want more and more. This is where your main enemy emerges from the shadows. This enemy is called latent depression. I want to talk to you about latent depression and perfectionism. Perfectionism is a disease that many people embrace wholeheartedly because it presents itself in the guise of a friend while being our most dangerous enemy. Why is latent depression so frightening? Because it hides itself and is difficult to detect. Where is the best place for it to hide? Exactly, behind perfectionism. Essentially, these two feed off each other. Margaret Radford's book discusses this very issue. Someone might say, no, I'm not depressed at all, I'm just a perfectionist. But what does perfectionism do to their life? It leads to a loss of motivation in daily tasks, boredom, dissatisfaction with life, and longing for the lives of others. Perfectionism has turned into one of society's dilemmas, especially in this era where people want to portray their lives as 100 times better than reality. Let's admit that today's society wants us to be perfectionism because being a perfectionist means being a consumer. To be beautiful, we get cosmetic surgery. To have a good figure, we get cosmetic surgery again. Or spend a lot of money on sports supplements. If we want to have high self confidence, we buy a lot of clothes, always have updated home appliances, have cool cars, and things like that. These things make us unconsequently perfectionists in today's society. We look at other people's lives and ask, he or she has them. Why can't I? It's no wonder that Dr. Jonathan Haidt says that the statistics on depression have increased 100-fold in recent decades. Unfortunately, a significant percentage of these individuals are young people aged 15 to 25. Those who are at the peak of their blossoming are affected, deceived, and gradually nurture depression within themselves. In the 1918s, Japan faced a terrifying phenomenon known as karoshi, which means death from overwork. In a way, this was seen as an honor. And even in modern Japan, despite good welfare, social and economic conditions, the suicide rates remain high. The main reason for this is that people tirelessly strive to reach the highest level of life. It first manifests as perfectionism, then transforms into hidden depression, and ultimately, the black dog of depression completes this deadly triangle. What are the characteristics of hidden depression? First, we will examine its feature together, and then I will present scientific solutions to comfort it. As you can see in the image, these four categories can be the onset of depression, which of course needs to be diagnosed by a doctor for confirmation. First and foremost, we need to silence perfectionism. As stated in this book, perfectionism is one of the main factors of hidden depression. Contrary of popular belief, perfectionism is not like catching a cold that you can cure with medication. Since many of the roots of perfectionism lie in our childhood, you may find yourself struggling with it for life, especially with moral traits that have ancient roots, but it can be controlled. One method that works very well is the 70% rule. This means that when you have completed a task for 70%, present it. Do not wait until it reaches 100%. This helps keep your perfectionism at bay. If your work has minor flaws that do not harm its core direction, let them go. Consequently, show your perfectionism that you will not stop working because of that 30%. 70% is neither so high that you strive to become the best version of yourself, nor so low that you appear weak and amateurish. This point is emphasized so much by Jeff Bezos, the founder of Amazon, that it is referred to as Jeff Bezos' 70% rule. Keep in mind that if you confront perfectionism, you will achieve pragmatism. This rule proves to me that you are not meant to be perfect, you are only meant to be better. We must understand that there is no formula for life. It is these small actions and seemingly worthless growth that manifest themselves significantly over time. Depression can have 1,000 mental and physical causes, but in this video, we only addressed it from one perspective. You can significantly combat perfectionism with these questions. Support me with likes and comments, and if you liked this video, feel free to share it with your friends. Thanks for watching.